Good morning, everybody. We are here this morning looking at these beautiful 2018 new body style JL Wranglers. Oh, there's some Grand Cherokees, that doesn't count. I've pulled out a beautiful blue one for us to look at today. It's a two-door model, so if you're looking for something classic, this is a perfect kind of walk around, so you can see if it suits your needs, if you like the style, if you like the changes, if you like what they kept. Just a sort of a heads up, we did manage to snag a couple of extra colors that were kind of unique to the brand. We've got that kind of Tonka truck yellow, that classic white. I got this green mojito color, and then we got the regular colors that FCA has, which is like the grays and the blacks and the silvers. I got another green one down there somewhere, but today we are looking at the blue one. So we'll start at the front. They have made some changes to the grille. We can have a quick peek at it there, but you can still see the classic Wrangler elements. They sort of smoothed out the, or not smoothed out the front, they sort of actually rounded it a bit. With the big headlight looking eyes. They've kept sort of the plastic bumper kind of the same. You can change that out. You can also change it with anything aftermarket that you like. They've also put on these extra wide fenders to make it look extra cool and to give it some extra lift from the body sort of look. And then you can see that they have a nice all-around sort of lift. Here's the side profile. Looks a lot like the classic JK. It's got the regular trail rated 4x4 stamp on the side for you 4x4s. And then they also talk about this T50 business, and that's got to do with what they're, or where they're made, I guess. Oh, here, we'll take that out. And then everything else in the back is sort of the same. I don't think they've changed very much there. I think this one comes with a soft top. I think it's in the back. And now we'll have a look at the back here. Now this is one of the biggest changes, not a design element necessarily. I mean, they have changed the back and the way it looks. There's some more curvature up top with the hard top, but the biggest difference between the Wrangler now and the Wrangler that was is this little bad boy right here. This is the wonderful and only backup camera. Yes, for those of you waiting, they finally did it. They figured out a way to put a backup camera on the back of a Jeep, and it's very, very nice to have so you don't run into the back of anything. Here's a little close-up of the rear lamps. Sort of changed the design there a little bit. Don't get too impatient. We're gonna look inside in a second. And then, believe it or not, the passenger side of the vehicle looks a lot like what was on the other side of the vehicle, so we'll just sort of brush over that. And then this is sort of the outline or the outside of the new JL, the blue two-door. We're gonna have a quick look at the inside so you guys have a good idea all around of what exactly one is like, if it piques your interest. So we're gonna walk up to it here. Now I got this key. This key has changed also. The classic style was like that. It wasn't a T, it was like it had that head with the remote on it. But this one actually is a push start system. So it's a lot like a lot of other FCA vehicles. So they do have the key in it for if you need to get into your doors manually. But this vehicle, or most of them now, are outfitted with the touch start. This one in particular has the lock button, and then the remote start button, and obviously the horn. Let's try that out. Not the horn, but the remote start. Oh, you can hear it kicking on there. It's alive. So they always had remote start, or most of them had remote starts option in the last generation. But the biggest thing in here is the push start that we'll see here in a second. We'll open the door. Oh, we gotta unlock it first. Let's have a look at the front here. That's what the door looks like. We got a nice little pocket to hold all your water bottles or canes or candy or whatever you want to keep in there. And we'll look inside. I'll have a look here. That's the front seats, and sort of have a look at the middle console there. Oh, I got some light in the camera. And that's the shifter, and we'll get there when we can see a little bit better. That's the steering wheel there. And then we'll quickly flip the seat back, because it's only a two-door, remember, so we don't have a fourth door, or four doors. And that's the back. Bless me. And there's actually quite a bit of space back there. Now, and then there's also, you look in here, there's some cup holders for your beverages while you're driving around your guests. Of course, we're drinking non-alcoholic beverages because we do not do drinking and driving. You want to have a look at the roof. You can see where it comes off right there. And then they have that little cross panel and where they have the nice speakers. These are easy to detach. These just flip. These guys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I think there's some on the other side. And then these clips flip down, off it comes, and away you go. Oh, that actually might be covers for the soft top, or for the hard top panels now that I think about it. That's probably what that is. We'll have a quick look at the trunk before we get in. Let's have a look here. Well, it's not very exciting. It's a trunk. People put things in the trunk, I guess. There's always that joke in the car industry. People put bodies in the trunk, which is kind of morbid, but look at all the bodies we can fit in this trunk. It's amazing. So if you're a serial killer or work for the mob, they got a little storage box in here in case you want to keep your unmentionables hidden, maybe. I wouldn't keep any guns or weapons or drugs or hash or anything in there. If you forget about it, you go across the border, they'll throw you into prison. And then your jack is also underneath there as well. That just opens up with a flick to the left, pops up, and there's your jack. Oh, there's also a 12-volt DC accessory there in case you need to hook up. We'll close that, open that back up, and then we'll walk around to the passenger front, and then we'll get in it. Alright, so we'll open this guy. Now this might be a little bit easier because the sun's not shining in our eyes. Maybe we'll sit in this when we get into it. Let's move this seat back here. Whoop. So that's a look from the passenger side. And the passenger door looks like the driver's door. They have a little storage box here for your stuff. Look at this one in particular, keeps the wheel nuts. Obviously there's a lock on there so that when you have the top off in the summer and you don't want to have to worry about your stuff getting stolen, lock that up. Now I'm gonna get in this thing here. And then look at this, they got the center console. Let's see what's in there. Oh, look it, it's a deep box. They also have some a USB charger in there as well. Now I think this has a secondary component. Oh, look at that, it does. It has a little tray. Perhaps you keep your change in there, or little objets around your car that you don't want out in the open. Maybe your wallet, just don't forget your wallet in there. And then if you have a coffee or something in the morning, they have little cup holders, just like how most vehicles are equipped with. And then we'll have a look at this. See, this is the nice part about Jeep, is the little details. See, this is your automatic shifter, and they've put on there a little war, from a Jeep from the war, I guess, is probably what that is, probably from the 40s. Nice little outline of that. And then they also have the 4x4 shifter. I'm sorry if you can't see it very well. The sun's making it difficult, and I'm competing with it. And then if you look up, you have your window switches, and then you also have this media companion here, and that's where you have, it looks like a USB 3, USB, and you have an auxiliary port. And then you also have another 12 volt there. And then you also have, once above that, sorry if you can't see, there we go, that's, oh, no, that's not as good. There, that's a little better. And then here you have most of your environmental controls, which I believe are also accessible through the radio, which we'll get to in a second. Speaking of environmental controls, you also have this louvered style of venting system in the Jeep. There's one on both sides of the passenger, one on both sides of the driver. And if you've never had those before, they operate just manually like that. They swivel, they tilt, they turn so that you can direct airflow, you can stop airflow, you can do whatever you need. If you're hot, you're warm, you're cold, whatever you are. And I'm just looking up top to see if there's anything else. I don't think so. This one's pretty basic for the nothing fancy on the mirror. They've got the these guys, the visors, so you can maybe, ooh, look at there I am, a double chin, to do your makeup or what have you. And now we'll go back into the driver's side and start her up. Okay, so we're inside the Jeep. We're looking at the steering wheel. This one's got Bluetooth controls and your speedometer, or not your speedometer controls. What's that thing where you hit the button? Cruise control. That's it. It's got the cruise control buttons. And you can see the dash there. And then obviously what we just looked at on the passenger side, but on the driver's side. So we're going to actually fire it up. And if you look here, there's the start engine stop button. We're going to give that a little go. Make sure your finger, or make sure your foot, pardon me, is on the brake, because obviously it won't go. See, it'll just go, it'll go, hey, no foot on brake, please. So we're going to put our foot on the brake, hit the button. Oh, and there it goes. It's running. This one needs gas though, but we'll worry about that after we're done. So this gives you an idea of the detail that they put into the cluster information. You can sort of shift around and play around. Look at, there's our tire pressure information. That's always good to have, so you don't get a nail or a stick in your tire, you don't know it. Some people find the tire pressure monitoring system really annoying, but they're not, so don't worry about it. Then we have the drivetrain information. We have fuel economy. What's that? Oh, that's your trip information. And that's just general information on the stop-start system. Oh, that's actually a good point. This does have the stop-start. So when you're stopping at a light, most instances, if it meets the qualifications, the engine will actually turn off. And then when you take your foot off the brake, the vehicle will actually start up again. That's to meet some emissions and also some fuel-saving economy. If you ever want to turn that system off, that button is right there. Now this button has to be deactivated every time you turn the vehicle on. It doesn't stay on. But if you don't like that feature, on most FCA vehicles they have this A with the loop on the off button. If that is illuminated, then that system is deactivated for the remainder of that driving period until the vehicle is shut off. Back to the cluster, messages, stuff like seatbelt, oil change, that sort of stuff. And that's about it. There's your odometer. Make sure you're not speeding. And you have the manual speedometer, or not, pardon me, I meant to say speedometer before. And then you have the classic speedometer on the right, and then you have the RPM gauge on the left, and then it also shows if you're in 2 high, 4 high, neutral, or 4 low. And then, oh look, it's 20 degrees outside. Yes, it is kind of warm. It's going to get up there to 32 degrees Celsius. I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit for anybody measuring in that. We'll have a quick look here at one of my favorite components of most FCA vehicles is their info entertainment system, and I'm really, really sorry that you see reflection. Unfortunately, doing these in the sun, this is sort of what you get. So right here, we'll make sure it's on. Now it's flipped right to the climate control in this particular case. Remember, you have the climate control situations down there, but you also have it, like I said, through the radio. Obviously, you can change your direction. You have heated seats and heating steering wheel in this particular model. We can have a quick view at the backup camera. Look at that. Nobody's ever seen a backup camera from factory in a Jeep before, so that's always nice to have. I went off. Oh, there's an X up there. We'll have a look at the radio. Right now we're listening to, looks like CBC radio, Radio 1. They were talking about some politics earlier, but we also have AM radio. I don't even know if there's any stations on AM radio anymore. And there's Sirius XM. You get a standard trial when you buy a vehicle, which is always nice. But I always listen to Sirius radio. I actually pay for it because I don't listen to much else. I was kind of surprised because I was one of those people that said, oh, satellite radio is a waste of money. But I actually pay for it now, and I really enjoy it. And this works pretty much like any other FCA radio. You got your favorites up here. If you want to change your favorites, you just hold down the button, and that changes it right there to what I'm listening to. We're listening to Mr. West and Mr. Fox. They are singing something about a gold digger. I'm sure that's about somebody in the mine that digs gold. They're not talking about a young lady there, because they're stand-up gentlemen, and we don't do that. You can flip over to media. Now this is where that little media device thing comes in handy that was at the bottom of the radio. See, it's right there. There's the radio. There's that. There's the radio. There's that. There's the radio. There's that. So remember, we flipped that guy open. Boop. and then that's where those would come up. That's also where a Bluetooth situation would arise as well. If you had music on your mobile device, that's where that would show. We did climate. Let's have a look at the apps here, see what we got. So that's showing you that we have driver's seat, we have the heated driver's seat, we have the heated wheel, we have the passenger heated wheel, we can have a boo at the backup camera, and then this is basically giving you your guide. In other vehicles, this is where it shows other things, like if it's equipped with a front camera, or if it has navigation, that sort of thing. But this one is doesn't have some of those features, so it's kind of just showing what's down there, sort of. Controls is an easier way to get to the heated components rather than going through the climate section. You can just go to the controls. And then this is your phone. I don't have a phone paired up to it, but that's pretty standard on most vehicles made from any manufacturer. You can go through your settings. This is where you can change things on the display. Your units, if you're not metric, you can change it back to imperial. You can also change things like whether or not the horn beeps when you unlock it. Things like auto on comfort, so if it's cold outside, the vehicle knows it, turns on your heated seats or your heated steering wheel. And then your Sirius XM radio information and everything else. So that pretty much sums it up, I think. I don't think there's much else left. Remember, they come with different options and different things, so just this is sort of just a rundown as what you might like in a JL, or kind of what a two-door model may actually look like, or come equipped kind of standard, maybe with a little bit of extras. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again with another vehicle.